last week on Moments with ARGJ.
Because the goal is God doesn't want us to fail the test, but let's say if I do, perhaps I can learn from it. I can grow from the mistakes because we know that God is a forgiving God. How many times has He had to forgive me? I lost count, truly, you all. But my Amen, Anthony. So when we go back, we've heard this word vain before. So the reality is that not everyone who says that Jesus is the Lord of their lives will make it to heaven. Can you imagine living your life and then hearing God say, "But I don't know you"? I mean, that's a scary thought. So we have that faith. When they hurt your feelings, they stab you in the back, they talk about you, they don't appreciate you. You still got to have that faith that your love will be stronger than the wounds.
But out of all four of those types of faith, I'd rather have the saving faith, because the saving faith is what's going to sustain me. It's what's going to keep me when I'm not able to keep myself. Hello everybody, happy Tuesday. Hope you all are doing well and have had a great day. Welcome to this week's episode of Moments with ARGJ. I am Anthony Gartner Jr., your host. Thank you all for my new and returning viewers and guests. I just appreciate your support. Those of you that are watching me at this time, thank you. Thank you so much. I hope that your day was well, that it was just a day that you have never seen before, which today, June 1st, 2021, is a day that we have never seen before, and I'm so grateful and appreciative to that, and about that, and for that. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So today's motivational moment of the week is: develop a strong opinion about yourself so that you don't accidentally start believing what others say about you. So in what that's really saying is, know who you are. I had an episode dedicated to this particular moment. Know who you are, and when you begin to know who you are, the opinion of other people do not really matter. They may say, well, Anthony is this, Anthony is that, Barbara is that, this and that and the third. We heard this about them and that. But you know, in reality, we shouldn't even really be thinking about what Bob, Sally, and Tommy and them, Shanae and them thinking. It's all about what God says. Because God is the one that woke you up this morning, not Bob and Tom and them. So begin to think of a positive definition and character of yourself so that you're not worried about what others think and what you and their perception of you, because their perception and opinion of you does not matter. And they may be entitled to it, but that does not mean that it's the truth. It doesn't. So begin to develop your own definition of yourself. That's all that really matters, okay? You all, we have a great treat for you all today. As you all know, this month is Juneteenth month, June 19th, and this whole entire month, I will be dedicating my show to Juneteenth. So I have a few guests that we're going to be having on the show this week. As of this present moment, I have 2 slots available. That if you would like to become a guest and speak about Juneteenth, you're more than welcome to do so. I will please go on my website at www.anthonyrgardner.com/MWARGJ and fill out a special guest form, and we'll love to have you, and we'll go from there. All right, we do have one announcement, and that is on July 24th, 2021, I will be having my 24th birthday celebration. It will be at 2 o'clock at Murray's in Goldsboro, North Carolina. So if you would like to come, please get with me and feel free to message me, contact me, whichever you would like to do, and I'll be glad to have you. But I ask that you do RSVP and confirm your space before July 21st, 2021, so that I'll have plenty enough time to have things in order. That is all the announcements for today. So without further ado, we do have our special guest. He has been up here before earlier this year. His name is Kijuan Amey, and I hope that you all can appreciate his appearance on the show. I hope that you all will be blessed by today's show, and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Moments with ARGJ. It's me again, Anthony Gardner Jr., and welcome to this week's episode of Moments with ARGJ. Here we have our special guest, Kijuan Amey. How are you doing, Kijuan?
I'm doing good, Anthony. It's good to be back on the show. I know you had me on here earlier this year, which is amazing. And it's great to always come back. That means somebody liked you.
Yes, well, of course, we like you here at Moments with ARGJ. So thank you for accepting the invitation and opportunity again, and you're welcome. Alrighty. So if you would please, Kijuan, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. Well, again, you guys know by now, my name is Kijuan Amey, born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. And I will say that I am a very versatile person. I have become a musician, been playing the drums since I was 7. I then, of course, went on to play sports when I was in middle school and high school. Also played semi-professional football. And then I went on to the Air Force for 7 years and just medically retired because of a tragic motorcycle accident that, took my eyesight. So it caused me, to not be able to work anymore in the Air Force. But yes, I just recently medically retired from that. And let's see, I am an entrepreneur. I am also an author. What else? A motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. So just to be honest, last but not least, a family man. I don't have any children of my own, but I do love my own family. And
Yes.
faith is my way of living. So, yeah.
Okay, that's good, and I must second that motion. Faith is my way of living as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this month is Juneteenth month for Moments with ARGJ. So as I've shared, or if I have not already, I'm going to say that for the next 4 Tuesdays of Moments with ARGJ, there will be a series of guests, or if not 1 or 2 guests that will be on the show, and where we will be talking about Juneteenth, the history of Juneteenth, and some facts. So if you want to start us off, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you know about Juneteenth?
Okay, Juneteenth. Oh, wow. Well, first off, let me start off by saying that I really hadn't picked up on Juneteenth until about, I don't know, say maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I started getting really big, in the media and social media and stuff like that. But once I did hear about it, I did a little bit of research, not much, just enough to say, okay, I know what it means. And what I found out was we became informed. And what I mean by we is the Blacks, the slaves, the African Americans, those who were held captive. And what I mean by being informed is that in 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation, it determined that all slaves are free. Well, that was not known for the state of Texas. And
Wow.
so in 1865, on a great day of June 19th, hence the term Juneteenth, um, that's when the general, I believe of the army, but he rode into Galveston, Texas, and informed them that, hello, you guys have still been enslaving people, and this has been over for 2 years. Not 2 days, not 2 weeks, not 2 months, but 2 whole years. This has been over. And you guys have still been enslaving people. And they were like, well, we didn't get the memo, you
Yeah.
know? And who knows if it was to, the ignorance, or they literally did not know. So I didn't dive too far into it. I just know that they were very misinformed and had no idea that that was going on. So that's what I will chalk it up to, is they did not know.
Gotcha. And thank you for giving us a little bit of history in the way that you did concerning Juneteenth. To our viewers that do not know what Juneteenth is, I'm going to give you a little bit of definition of what it is. Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Dating back to 1865, as Kijuan said, it was on June 19th that the Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, landed at Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended and that the enslaved were now free. Wow, isn't that something? Like you said, slavery had already ended, and they did not know that it had ended because they didn't know anything. They didn't know that it had ended. Nobody told them.
Right. Yep. And it also, one thing I forgot to mention, that also made them unaware of that the Civil War had ended, because obviously they didn't know that's what the whole war was about, was to end slavery. So they obviously in Texas had no idea that that war had ended. And that is what the general also informed them about. So,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I agree with you as well. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. All right. So let me ask you, Kijuan, why do you think Juneteenth is important?
oh man, well, like I initially said in my first answer,
Uh-huh.
it was a time of informed. We were informed. We got that, of course, that great news that, oh, we're no longer slaves. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, it's great to no longer be a slave, but now what do they do after they are no longer slaves? Because all they know
Right.
is that they work for somebody and they have
Yes.
somewhere to stay. Now you're no longer a slave. You got to figure all this out on your own. And so, yes, they were informed that they were no longer slaves, but they were not given the tools. So that is, basically what I know about it. And it was a great, informative piece. But you would also have like to have some kind of what's next, or blueprint of what we can do next. So almost like a small book, if not anything, but you know how that time was back then. They were not
Yes.
trying to help us
Right.
so much, so yeah.
Okay. Great answer. So I want to reiterate what you said. And many of you viewers may be watching, that are watching me and watching us right now, may be wondering, why is Juneteenth so important? Well, I'm going to help you. I'm going to answer that for you. Juneteenth marks a date of major significance in American history and shows us that freedom and racial equality have always been a hard-fought battle for Black Americans, a battle that continues to this day. Kimon, what do you have to say to that?
Oh, I completely agree. Yes, it was a very hard fought battle from the day we left the motherland to come here. It is still a hard fought battle, as you can see, left and right. Look over any shoulder, turn on any camera, any TV, any social media
Yes.
platform, and you'll still see it to this day. And it's sad. That's the sad part about it. It's not a good thing. It's really bad. And I feel like, yes, we have made strides, but these strides seem to be forever long. You know,
Right.
it's almost like regardless of how far you run, they're still going to keep pulling away. It's sad to say that, but at the same sense, we have to figure out what to do as a community of Black people, not like
Right.
trying to
Exactly.
come together and figure it out, but more so for ourselves. And then we throw it on them, that kind of thing. So once you give the, or if you let the, shall I say, other side know what your plan is, now they're going to try to work that against you. So
Yes.
don't let them know first. You throw it on. It's kind of like if I were to put it into sports, which is my background, football.
Uh-huh.
If you're coming up against the opposing team and they already been watching you at practice,
Uh-huh.
and then you guys get to the game, well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to know everything you did at practice. And when you come to try to put that play on them, they're going to be already in the backfield or already jumping in front of the ball or whatever the case
Yes.
may be. So if they know what you're going to do, they're going to be ahead of you and they're going to figure out how to prevent you from continuing to move forward.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Because when going back to, having a plan, I lost my train of thought here. It's good that we can come together, and have a plan, but let's go further than the plan. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get to, solving the problem and having a resolution. We continue to, and like, and going back to another point that you said, it's almost like you're going and you're having it resolved, but then you're having two. It's almost like you're taking one step forward and take two steps back.
Mm-hmm.
And even in what we just experienced, with the George Floyd case,
Mm-hmm.
so that definitely, I definitely agree with you on that,
Yeah.
concerning that. So I want to ask you, like I said, I didn't have a little bit. I had a little bit of questions. My iPad went out here. What does Juneteenth mean to you?
Juneteenth. To me, it means uh, it's almost like a stance. It's where we're saying we'll never go back. We will never go back to the way that was. That's kind of what it means to me. We know what that day is now, and now that we
Uh-huh.
know, you can't take us back. So it's one of those things, and it's almost like that song. It's a great, gospel song. I won't go back. I can't go back to the way it
Yes,
used to be.
one of my
So
favorites.
before that change came about, you know what I'm saying? So until we have like our own land, or put it this way, since that day, June 19th,
Uh-huh.
1865, we turned away. It was like, no, I don't want to go back. I mean, I know I don't have anywhere to go right now, but I'm gonna figure that out. you know,
Right.
ever since then, we've been overcomers. We've been overcomers because we have figured it out, and we have plenty of people who have proven it. Now it's time to hold on to that blueprint and like show our own people, versus trying
Yes.
to always collaborate and always trying to bring in another ethnicity or race. Why not show it to your own, so that they can help, gain? We need to gain something of our own, is what it really boils down to.
Yes, I
And
totally agree.
so
Um,
that's what it means to me.
yeah, I totally agree with you. And there's nothing wrong with, having help, but it's nothing like having your own, and someone that can relate to what's really going on. And like I said, there needs to be a plan of action, and the plan of action needs to follow down and be, put in place. And I believe that with everything and some of the stuff that has been going on in that time frame, that particular time frame and era, some of that stuff is still going on in the world today. with racism and, some of that stuff just needs to change. What do you say about that?
Oh, I agree, 100%. It's like I said earlier. It's sad that we are still to this day dealing with stuff like that. You would think that with us all coming together, and I've said this before. I said, because I'm blind, for those viewers who do not know, I said this one day to my pastor. I said, what if we were all blind? That way we couldn't see no color. We couldn't see
Right.
anything, other than what that person is. Now, with our eyes, for those, because I have seen before, we can see that, somebody's white, they're Asian, they're
Uh-huh.
Mexican, whatever they may be. And then you put them in a category just off of what you saw. Now, if you went and actually had like an actual interaction or an encounter with that person, then and only then would you be able to say, oh, I see what this person is about, versus just putting eyes on them and selecting that category for them. You haven't even met them. They haven't even opened their mouth. How is it that we can judge a book by its cover, but you don't even know what's inside the book?
Right.
So it's really sad when you see stuff like that. And you hope one day that it changes. And I recently just did an interview with Spectrum News,
Uh-huh.
and it's called the segment is called Voices for Change. And I
Uh-huh.
said that same thing. I said you would hope that people will be able to experience some of the encounters I've experienced in the Air Force. Because yes, I've flown, all over the world, but even within the country, I've experienced no racism within the Air Force. Now, whether they were doing it and just kind of hiding it, I don't know. I have no idea. But blatantly, like you see it on TV, none. Nothing like that. So I wish and hope that people can experience, my journey and my career that I had in the military, because it was nothing short of, great for me. I had a great time, so I don't know. I wish and hope the best. So
You made some great points, and thank you, Kijuan. One thing that you mentioned when you first spoke that stood out to me is that you said that you wish that everybody was blind because we wouldn't be able to see color. And you made me think about something when you said that. And so many times there are so many things that are not how can I put this? There are so many things that some people like to do that they desire to do but can't because of the simple fact of the color of our skin.
mhm,
And yes, that was probably 300 or 200 years ago, before slavery ended or segregation ended. But some of that stuff is still going on in this world, in this century, in this timeline that we are going on today, and it ought not to be.
mhm,
It's time. We say we're gonna, time will vote for change, time for change, but we ought to not to start putting some action to these words. And it just ought not to be. Another point that you had made, I'm trying to think what it was. Give me one second. Let me go back and talk about. Um, yeah. So I wasn't born. Of course, we were not born during slavery times, but it is so sad to say that things are still not. Some things have not changed, and it like the change is not changing until you change. But segregation is still in the world. Not still in the world, but racism is still in the world. And it's sad that you get these vibes that you go into the restaurants, the stores, wherever you go, and the atmosphere, the service that you're served is still, it may not be the same. It may be it's different than what is served someone else. It
mhm,
may not be the same, but it's different,
mhm,
and it should not be that way. There are certain vibes that I get in places that I go that, oh my God, I don't feel scared or anything. I just don't feel, you're saying that you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel that way, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that has felt that way. Like the atmosphere is not right,
Right.
and once you go out in that place, like for example, if I go into Burger King and I get nervous or I feel trembling,
Mhm.
but before I went into there, I was fine, that kind of thing.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. You know what?
And so it should not be that we're in it, we're out of this thing for like 200, 300, or how many ever years we're out of it, and things are not changed. And
Mhm.
so we as a community, a Black community, need to come up with a plan in order to get things that need to be changed. Even when it comes down to um, police, if I may say, um, it's including the George Floyd case. When I'm
Mhm.
sitting here talking about George Foreman, maybe I need to get a George Foreman reel. But yes, even down to the George Floyd case, things ought to change with that. In particular, or example areas with that. What do you have to say about that, Kijuan?
Now, with that whole George Floyd thing, that right there just showed pure hate. Like there was nothing else you could say about that. So
Yes,
many people, I don't care what race, color, cretin, whatever you might be, if you even had like the slightest thought or mindset to combat or come to that man's aid who kneeled on his neck,
yes,
then you have something wrong with you. Because he
right,
blatantly did that right in front of a camera. It's like and he knew it was there because he looked at it.
exactly.
And so the sad part is after they did the autopsy and saw how much pressure he was applying to that man's neck,
Uh-huh,
that right there just showed me how much of an animal he was. You
right.
know, and they try to say George Floyd was the animal or the aggressor or the guy who was resisting arrest. Where? On what camera do you see that?
I'm trying to figure
You
that out
you
myself.
you see what that man did, but you don't see none of that mess that they talk about George Floyd. So I'm confused. Who's at fault here again?
Yes,
Because I only see one. And
yes,
so it just it baffles me when people come to the so-called uh, they come to the
conclusion.
aid or the help or try to talk some kind of I don't know I don't know. They just try to find some words because they don't live in the
Or an
dictionary I
excuse.
know of. They're trying to find some words to just make it seem like it's okay or what that man did, and
To
somehow,
solidify
yeah,
what happened.
yeah. What? How are you going to solidify that? How are you going to make that sound even slightly true? I don't care
Right.
what court of law you go into, as a lawyer who took an oath, if you try to back this man, you should be your license should be revoked. It
I
should be
understand
completely
that.
stripped. You should never be able to step foot in a lawyer, I mean in a court ever again. Because it just doesn't make I don't and that's like the things about all these cases, Breonna, Taylor, all of them. There should be no lawyer that ever backed those police officers that should be able to continue to do it. And my thing is, even Eric Garner, all those guys. I mean, it's just too many to call. And
Emmett Till.
yeah, like so. I spoke on that segment again about Voices for Change,
Uh-huh.
which spoke on racism. I talked about how they mistreated and basically banned and shamed Colin Kaepernick And a lot of people know that story, the NFL story about Colin Kaepernick, the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Would you mind expanding on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. He was the one, I believe it was 2015, 2016 NFL season, who was taking a knee during the national anthem. He started that whole thing. And so what everybody, well, most people were saying is, of course, they were saying it was disrespectful, but they were also trying to say it was disrespectful to the flag. I'm a veteran, and I felt no disrespect when he knelt because I knew why he was kneeling. Whereas other people, all they want.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Now all everybody else wants to do is point at one thing and oh no, he's disrespecting the flag. Oh no, and trying to cover up what he was really kneeling for. When he's been on TV, social media, anything, trying to tell y'all why he's kneeling. Social injustice.
Yes.
But y'all consistently talk about how he was disrespecting the flag. That is not what he was doing. Then, not only was it him, there were team members, there were other players around the league in different sports. All of them were able to come back, but Colin Kaepernick was banned for basically life. And then he gets this random NFL tryout because everybody kept talking about how he can't even get a tryout. He gets this random NFL tryout when they know the man hasn't been working out. They know they were gonna lowball him, like with a low ball price of what he could get, to come back in the league compared to all these other NFL players, quarterbacks, whatever you want to say. And thought it was okay to do that. I'm like, so you don't even recognize the passion he has for the sport, the reason he did what he did. You just don't care about it. You just like, oh no, it is what it is. Either you're gonna come back with these stipulations, or you're not coming back at all.
Wow.
Pretty much is what it was. And now you have the recent story of a Tim Tebow who has not played or touched an NFL field in 8 years. Just signed a contract. He's been a sports analyst for the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to put him in an NFL uniform and not even play the same position that he played when he left.
Wow.
Like Colin Kaepernick can't even come back and play the same position after a few years. Wow, did you really just do
that? Yeah, they did.
So, it's listen, racism is alive and kicking. And if you don't believe it, just look around. I just want it to change. Yeah. I want change, and that's what I'm hoping will come out of everything that I speak on. And like I said in the Spectrum News interview that I did, if it doesn't start with me, then who will it start with?
Yes. One random act of kindness at a time. That's all we can do. Mm-hmm. Because if someone sees you doing good, then they're going to do good. If they see me doing good, one step at a time, one random act of kindness at a time, then they're going to want to do good. And then that next person that sees that person do good, they're going to want to do that. And the cycle continues. Yeah. It's a revolving effect.
Right.
So it's all down to what we ourselves do about what we see and what we do to change it or attempt to do to change it. Mm-hmm. So I really have enjoyed this episode today. I've learned a lot of some of the facts that I did not know about Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. You educated me some, so I appreciate that, Kijuan. I really do. But I am really looking forward to this month and the rest of the Juneteenth episodes that are coming. Like I said, I've learned a lot, and I honestly have heard of Juneteenth, but didn't really know much about it. Mm-hmm. So doing this episode today and the series for the rest of the month, that's going to teach me some things. And hopefully it will teach you some things as well that you didn't know. So I am just so excited about Juneteenth to learn about our history.
Mhm.
I said our history.
Right.
So I'm happy about it. But that is all the time that we have for today, folks. I thank you all for watching, and I hope that you all will tune in next Tuesday at 7 o'clock for our next episode and our next special guest. You don't want to miss out. I'm hoping you all are excited. That is all for right now. You all be blessed and stay encouraged. God bless you, and I love you to life.